Hello, check test. Hey, 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 check test. हेलो हेलो check. बराबर कम ज़्यादा कुछ करूँ लाइव है मुझे पता नहीं सॉरी
Ross Perot, the American businessman, says, the only strategy that is permanent is the strategy of continuous adaptation. Very good afternoon to all of you present here. We are gathered here today to celebrate a significant milestone in the world of business and management, and a very, very important event in the history of Somaiya Institute of Management, where we are launching the book written by our dear Isaac Jacob sir, along with co-authors, on strategic management concept and cases, a competitive advantage approach. Without taking much time, I request our Vice Chancellor, sir, Mr. Professor V.N. Rajasekaran Pillai, to deliver the welcome address.
I'm fine, yes. Distinguished guests and my colleagues from the Somaiya Institute of Management and other invitees. First of all, let me congratulate my colleague, Professor Isaac Jacob, from our institute to be one of the authors of this book, Strategic Management Concepts and Cases. And let me congratulate him. He is one of the most cited authors in the the university. Isaac Jacob. Let me congratulate him for his wonderful initiative. And he has been writing books. I do not know from which year onwards, but I think I was there at least for 2-3 releases. I was here. So congratulations to you, Professor Isaac Jacob, and thank you for inviting me for this very important activity. I am not a strategist. So, of course, definitely this is very important. As she rightly mentioned, strategies need to be changed, continuously changed. We have to adapt to the strategies. Let me also congratulate Professor Ranjan, Chaudhuri, Hanif, Kanjer, and Professor David, Meredith David, Fred David, and Forrester David for the co-authorship of this great book. I have not gone through of course it is going to be launched only, it is going to be released only, so I am not supposed to read that book. So I have not gone through the contents of the book, but I am told today, when Professor Isaac Jacob came to me, he told me about the approximate content of this book, about an overview of the strategic management, strategy formulation, business vision and mission, strategy implementation, then strategy evaluation and governance, strategy management and topics, and strategy management case analysis. Of course, I know that there are a good number of students also here. Definitely this would be a welcome addition to the literature on strategic management. And in addition to that, the case studies, for example, how to prepare and present a case analysis, you have illustrated. I am very confident that this topic would be of great relevance, great help to the teachers, researchers, and students at large. I appreciate that Pearson, one of the world's top publishing companies, is taking up this publication. Let me thank each and every one of you, and let me hope that Professor Isaac Jacob will be coming with more and more books and enrich all of us with your great capabilities in writing books, communicating, and teaching the students. Thank you very much. Let me congratulate each and every one of you. Of course, we have a career and conversation after that. I will also be attending that meeting. So I will definitely have an interaction with him there on this. Thank you very much. Wish the function all success. careful. If you over careful, it's not good.
Thank you so much, sir. With over 2 decades of experience, Mr. Vinay Kumar Swamy, the country head of Pearson India, has established himself as a dynamic executive with a deep understanding of business landscape, customers, and organizational goals. He plays a pivotal role in enabling Pearson India's digital transformation and profitability. I request Mr. Vinay Kumar Swamy to deliver the keynote address for today's afternoon book launch.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, honored guests, colleagues. It's my privilege to share some of my thoughts in front of some wonderful professors sitting here. Thank you so much, Vice Chancellor, sir, for giving some really insights about Professor Isaac and the book. Can anyone in this room guess how big Indian higher education system is? No, in terms of number of institutions as an ecosystem. Absolutely, sir. I didn't expect the answer from sir, but absolutely, it's India. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, no. So we have more than 50,000 higher education institutions alone. You're right, sir. There are tons of universities, and India is one of the largest education system for higher education in India. We are talking about the entire Indian market. That's the opportunity, Isaac, sir, we are talking about. But with that opportunity also comes a lot of challenges. The last report I was reading about from FICCI and EY Parthenon, they have categorized it into beautifully 4 buckets of challenges. First and foremost is the quality of education. The second one is with respect to industry and academia partnerships. How are we focusing on research and development and innovation? And last is about the inclusivity. Let's just take few, and this is very important at this juncture, why we are talking about it. Quality of education. There are colleges, there are content available across. Earlier it was only books and professors used to give us guidance a few decades back, but today you have multiple sources of knowledge coming in, multiple sources of content that's been available on the internet. But what is the quality of it? What is the right, is it a right approach? Is it a right steps? Is it a right way of understanding a concept? That's becoming quite a bit challenge. The second one is also with respect to faculties. The teachers and the quality of the teachers or the professors are also need to be improved. Just to put a number, there are 1.5 million higher education teachers in these 50,000 institutions that we are talking about. And we need more because the number of students that we are talking about is 40 million learners, right? So, and it's only growing. Why is it growing? India is also focusing on having our GR, gross enrollment ratio, moving from 28% to 50% in the next few decades to come, which means that we actually had to add another 26 approximately million learners to this to make it 50%. So that's the amount of learners that are going to come, that's the amount of teachers that we'll need to get. So that's one of the important things. And what is the quality of education that we were talking about? Fine, we get a good quality, we write books, we put everything together, but what is the use if when the learner finishes his graduation and is not able to correlate with what industry needs? Industry needs I'm just putting a very simple example, Excel sheet, and we teach them Fox Pro, which we all learned some few decades ago. Doesn't make sense. So it's very important that industry and academia partner together so that we create the right, relevant, quality content. That is the need, and that's how the learners would be able to become a globally employable workforce. I think that's something that we need to focus on. The third one is research and innovation. The latest report says approximately 0.7% of our GDP is invested in the research and development. Of course, our GDP is much larger, but if you compare it with China or any other countries, which is about 2 to 3%, and US and of course developed countries have much, much more amount set aside for research and development and innovation. I think that's the area of focus that as a country we need to be focusing on. The last one is on the inclusivity. It's not just gender equality, gender inclusion, but it's also about the communities, it's also about various socially, economically needed people to also get the similar set of education so they are able to perform better and be a globally employable workforce. As an organization, as a Pearson, that's one of our motto also to make sure that we do a little bit on this front in terms of getting a quality education. And the release of this strategic management 18th edition, co-authored by Hanif sir, Isaac sir here, is a real testament for that. So we have global content, but we have also Indianized it to the requirement of the Indian needs. And I and Hanif sir were just talking over the lunch. What's the use of studying a case study which the students cannot even pronounce the name of the company or a brand, and people cannot, and when they go home, and today the FaceTime of parents are much more, siblings are much more, when they go home and they want to talk what they learned, nobody is able to correlate to what you're talking about. But yeah, if somebody is talking about Nestle, Maggie, or talk about Mercedes-Benz, people would be loving to talk about it, right? So because you are reading it on the newspaper every day, you are able to correlate, people will collaborate, and they will give you different ways of thinking about the same situation. So that's been our primary motto, and this is a testament. Thank you so much, Isaac sir, for partnering with Pearson, and I thank KJ Somaiya Institute of Management to be partnering with us to provide this. Congratulations to all of the team that worked with you, sir. I know Hanif was making a lot of jokes about you when you were not in the room, but but really appreciate you all have put in a lot of efforts to get this wonderful 18th edition with Indianized version. I'm sure it's going to help the students. Thank you so much for each one of you again. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vinay, for that mind-winning strategy of giving insight into higher education in India and the need for this book. Thank you so much. Today we have amongst us a very distinguished panel of experts who will share their insights and experiences on the topic, leadership impact on strategy. I'm very happy to welcome our panelists, Mr. Vikas Kumaria, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz, Mr. Alexander Girding, MD of BASF India, Ms. Perizad Zorabian, Founder and MD of Zorabian Chicken, and Mr. Vinay Kumar Swamy, whom we just now heard. Please come on stage for the panel discussion. I request our Dean and Director, Dr. Raman Ramachandran, to be the moderator for the session on leadership impact on strategy.
Yeah, you can come here, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So, good afternoon to all. So this is a panel discussion which is going to bring out some of the examples that have been quoted in the book. And the title is Leadership Impact on Strategy. I think those who have studied and taught strategy will know that it is one thing to develop a strategy, but it is completely a different game to execute a strategy. Because so developing a strategy is greatly an intellectual exercise. Execution is all about people. It is about leadership. And there are wonderful examples here of how leaders have really kind of executed strategy at an individual level and at an organizational level. And sometimes executing a strategy is about pivoting the whole company, taking the company into a completely new realm, reinventing the company and kind of, be relevant to what is required and seizing those opportunities. So you will also hear some of those. So to get it started, I'm going to request Perizan here to talk about two pivoting that she has been instrumental in. One is in her own personal way. I'm sure all of you know that she was actually an actress, a very famous actress who acted in Joggers Park. There you go. Big round of applause. Yeah. So from a Bollywood actress to a great entrepreneur. Yeah. So can I ask you to start with telling us about your personal kind of transformation and also how you took your dad's company and really transformed it into its present form, which is very different from what your dad ran.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Perizan Zorabian, and of course, I'm fortunate to have inherited the legacy of Zorabian chicken, which I don't know how many of you over here are eating and consuming. If you're non-vegetarian, you should be doing that. With regards to two pivots in my life, I went to the US to study, did my MBA, to come back and run a poultry company. I remember my entrepreneurship classes used to always be about studying Tyson and Purdue and wanting to create a Purdue, which is a family-owned business in the US that gave high-quality chicken back in India. Of course, I came back, started working with my father, and then acting in theater happened, and my life kind of pivoted in that direction. But I think right through my tenure as an actor, every time I went on for an interview, it was always the Murgi Wali that kind of surfaced, right? So I think as far as, I've always followed my dreams. I, did my acting bit. And when I got married, I came right back to Zorabian because those were my roots. I did come back at a very stressful time in our business because my father founded Zorabian Chicken, and we were always known to be like the best quality chicken, but we were, our pricing was premium. And as the industry grew, we had competitors that came in, and the whole dynamics of that business changed, making it really, really difficult for a company of our size, which is mid-size, to have the economies of scale that would allow you to price your products really low in the HoReCa segment, which is in the institutional segment. And that's when I had stepped in. And that's when we got the opportunity, actually, from Reliance to produce retail packs. And I think it was just the need of the hour in terms of what was happening to our institutional business and grabbing on to an opportunity when it came to retail that kind of pivoted our business from a HoReCa brand to an institutional brand. Was it part of a big strategy? No. It was a situation. And when the opportunity came in front of us, we seized it. And because our product was so good in quality, was so different, was so unique, and of course, I think all my MBA and the amount of money my father spent on my education worked. The branding. I think when I started Zorabian, and I say that with all humility, I think it was the first time that chicken really got like a voice, a brand that got associated with it. So whilst there were lots of large producers, this, in terms of being a retail niche, we had a bit of a head start with that. And what was amazing, because everyone else has to speak, was over the last 16 years, the brand has grown into probably the best brand when it comes to premium chicken. And it's got a pan-India footprint, a pan-India presence. And I think strategically what's worked for us, what worked for us when my father was running it to what's worked for us when I'm running it, is our core values have always been the same. Right? It's always been about quality. It's always been about integrity. It's always been about trust. And of course, we've moved with times and kind of figured out unique, different ways, because we're doing retail, on how to reach our consumer. So communication, branding, all of that has really, really helped Surabian to where it is today. Sorry if I...
No. So it's wonderful, but I do have just one quick follow-up question. I'm sure, when you took this kind of new path, there would have been temptation to go back to your comfort zone and do what was, kind of working at whatever level. So did you have that, and how did you overcome, or did your organization have that? I'm sure there are others who
So-
kind of...
So I think we still do have, 50% of our business still is Horeca, but all our institutional business is from clients that really, really value quality, so they would pay you that premium
Okay,
price.
yeah.
So it's not like I shut one and only focused on the other. But the one that's growing rapidly is the retail business.
Okay,
And is there anything that changed the challenges we faced? Like I mentioned when we did that, when you're a wholesale institutional dealer, you're dealing with large volumes.
Exactly.
And then when you're serving a customer, like I remember when we're serving Big Basket, we start with them with delivering 4 packets. And my team thought I was completely crazy, because we're used to like giving a Hypercity like 800 kilos and 400 kilos. And there we're doing like 4 packets, which is 2 kilos of chicken, which really didn't make sense. But today we're selling truckloads to Big Basket. So I think the big challenge was respecting like the retail journey, even though the volumes initially were not that much. But now, of course, seeing what it's done to the company and how it's changed the company,
Exactly, yeah.
it was fantastic.
Great. Thank you so much for that. We're going to move from premium chicken to premium cars. And so this is moving to Mercedes, and we have Vikas here. And there is a great case study in the book about the bold new retail approach that Mercedes has taken, and perhaps probably most successfully in India. So I'm going to request Vikas to really talk about the thought process behind it and what did it take to kind of implement this in a world where you basically adopted this for the last 20, 30 years, the conventional approach. Every other car company adopts that conventional approach, but you have kind of trod on a completely different path. So please talk to us about the leadership of implementing this.
Hi, my name is Vikas Kumaria. I head dealer development and training for Mercedes-Benz. And let me go back a little bit in time. I'm talking about the time of COVID, 2021, when we had the worst of the COVID times. And that is a time, when we very strongly believe that in every adversity, there's an opportunity. When we all were locked in our houses, no going to office, we again questioned the whole business model. Again, there was no requirement coming from us. And I don't know if any of you know, but I think the book will very clearly mention we are the only manufacturers in the country who bill directly to the customer. So I think all of you must be having multiple cars and you get an invoice from the dealer itself. But I think we are the only manufacturer across mass and luxury where we as an OEM directly talk with you as an end customer at all parts of the journey, from your test drive to your buying, to your after sales and everything out there. Obviously, it works a lot in digital, but maybe I'll cover that a bit later. So, that was the time when we again said, and for us, the $1 million question was, what is in it for the customer? So the strategy word is very nice, and but in the end of the day, the customer does not see strategy. Customer sees, in my very simple words, plain hardcore execution. When he goes to buy a 1.5 crore car, which is a big lifetime purchase for him, how has he been dealt with? What is that moment of truth? That for us is the strategic definition, that if we can get that right, then everything else is all perfectly fine. And for us, again, during the times of COVID and all this transition, what we did, I think the book will very clearly explain that, happened virtually, multiple calls, but again, the key component was the customer. For all our discussion, we kept the customer in the center, that what is in it for him, and who are my stakeholders? My customer, me as an OEM, and third is my dealer. Do I have a business model which is a win-win-win for all? And the moment we could find a solution, we had a strategy on board. For us, a very clear learning has been that a strategy will succeed only if all stakeholders see an advantage in it. It cannot be top-down driven. And once we as a management team were clear that yes, this is the way to go ahead, it took us a lot of time, multiple, as you correctly said, 30 years, all people have been used to working in a particular way. Now you want to come and change the status quo. There's a lot of resistance. So you had to be nimble. We had sometimes an iterative process. We learned on the way. There was no book written that this is the way to do it. We defined the way. We failed many times. We learned from our failure and we adapted again. And for us, that has been the clear learning in that yes, in the end of the day, if you don't question the status quo, you don't adapt yourself, you don't have an aligned view. And that maybe I'll just spend another 30 seconds explaining that. For us, changing the business model meant all verticals in an organization, be it a finance, who is non-customer facing, be it taxation, non-customer facing, sales, always customer facing, controlling, non-customer facing, you all have to have a different way of working. Because the customer walks in on Saturday evening, says, I want to buy a car. You cannot say, my factory is closed. I can't give you the car today. I'll give you on a Monday. So for that mindset shift and the mindset change, I think that was extremely important. So for us to have an aligned view, all stakeholders in the organization had to be fully aligned that yes, this is the way to do. And once that alignment happened, for us, I think that was one of the biggest milestones that yes, if I could explain to my other peers that this is the way, and then I think balance is just a normal follow-up, what happens.
Great story, because I quick couple of one question. So one point you talked about a great strategy and business model. All the stakeholders have to have a win-win position. Now, intuitively, in this model, at least people who don't know the details would think that the retailer is going to be losing out because you've taken the power away from that person, the contact away from the customer that he earlier had. Can you just quickly allude to what is it the retailer is gaining from this?
So I think it's a very good question, and thanks for bringing it up, because I think it's a misconception that the retailer has no role. What have we done? We have just taken out the inefficiencies from the system. And what are the inefficiencies? Today, any dealer, you take any mass market or a volume, has to carry 4 to 6 weeks of stock. And that is the car he has. And tomorrow as a customer, you go and you say, I want a car. He will sell you not what you want, but what he has in stock. That is the way of life, because he has a limited kitty and he has to sell from that. The moment we switch the business model, we say, you don't carry any stock. We carry the stock. We give you a digital visibility of my factory. So now he has a visibility of 3,000 cars. And if you want a pink color car or an orange color car or a yellow car, all are available out here. So inefficiency, which is the inventory holding cost, has been taken over. And typically, we all are Indians. I also love to bargain. When I've also been trying to buy iPhones and you try and negotiate and hassle, but Apple also came up with a fixed price policy out here. And we realized that in the end of the day, a customer is willing to pay the price, but he does not like to be taken for a ride. And if I tell him that, look, I bought a car and you bought a car, but I got, let's say, 2% more discount from the same guy, I think at the end of the day, I've lost a customer. So what we have also realized is that this money, what our dealers were giving to the customer, and they were not fighting a BMW and Audi, though they're great products, but they were fighting amongst themselves. We have taken away that inefficiency also. So one customer, fixed price, you buy from north to south, east to west, you get the same price. Obviously, depending upon categorization of our customers, if we have a Shah Rukh Khan coming in or Amitabh Bachchan coming in,
Or
they get a certain
Perizat
price.
coming to buy a car.
Sorry?
Or Perizat coming to buy a
Perez,
car.
I went to, maybe I'll do a little extra for you. But we just come back and say, we have a kind of algorithm around it, so same price. So in the end of the day, I think the customer should not feel cheated that he got a raw deal.
Great story. So now I move to a completely different industry, which is the chemical industry that I know a little bit about, and about a company that I know a little bit more about than the industry, which is BASF. And we have Alex Girding here, who is the current managing director and president of South Asia for BASF. So Alex, BASF, a company which 25 years ago, when sustainability was like a sexy word in the circles of some people who were kind of, green. This company actually took this up seriously and pivoted a journey which has kind of completely transformed the portfolio, the kind of, even the purpose statement of the company. So can you talk a little bit about the role of leadership in this whole transition at the global level? And now as an MD, how are you spearheading some of those thoughts in a country like India, where perhaps this is actually a little bit of a competitive disadvantage, right? So tell us about that.
Yeah, so first, maybe you can answer that, Ram. Because I don't know if all of you know, he was in my job before, yeah? And I can tell you, everybody remembers you very vividly and has very, very high regards, yeah? So Raman left behind a legacy that is difficult for people like me to fill, I can tell you that. And then second, I think it's going to be difficult for me now to talk about chemicals, which is sort of a boring topic, yeah, after premium chicken, premium books, and premium cars, yeah, so, but there's chemistry everywhere, yeah, in the car, in the book, and maybe chickens also need some chemistry to grow, yeah. So, let me get back to the topic and maybe two concepts that I think are very, very, very clear. So to be successful long term and to be competitive long term, you really have to get out of the status quo, push boundaries, set new standards, create new standards, and that's all part of strategy, right? And there's a big saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So you can have a great strategy, but if the culture is not there, if the mindset is not there, the behaviors are not there, it will not lead anywhere. That's one. And second, implementation is all. Effective strategies are the ones that are able to be implemented. And so those two elements are extremely, the cultural element and the implementation element are critical for strategy. Sustainability, everybody talks about sustainability. Everybody wants to buy green products, but probably for the price of the great products, right? Or less so. That's also an element which for sustainability is difficult. And especially in countries like India, where the purchasing power is still comparatively to other developing countries lower, we have to acknowledge that the ability and the willingness to pay for more sustainable products, which will be inherently, today at least, more expensive, is difficult. Yeah, so that is a challenge. But nonetheless, strategically thinking about the long term, we have to push boundaries and enable this green transformation. So coming now to sustainability at BASF, it's part of our purpose. We create chemistry for a sustainable future. So sustainability is an anchor in our purpose statement, the why we are existing as a company. And then also in our ambition statement, we recently launched a new strategy. Also in our ambition statement, we want to be the preferred chemical company to enable our customers' green transformation. So also there you see the element of green transformation clearly also in our ambition, in where we want to go as a company. But getting there is not easy and requires a lot of behavior change. And if you look at the example in the book, we're talking about waste, organic waste. There's a lot of organic waste that is created worldwide, and there's a lot of organic waste also created in India. And one of the elements of sustainability is circularity. So we have to make sure that we increase the volumes of renewable products, recyclable products that go back into the stream, right? And organic waste is an example. So in the case, you have organic waste that can be collected, can be put into biodegradable mulch bags, which is the product that BASF offers. So you collect the waste, and then you put the waste to good use. You put it back on the farms, you grow crops, and actually the yield that can be attained by using that organic waste on those farms, on those crops, is on average higher than not using this organic waste. But what we realize, and this is another challenge with these type of concepts, is if I come back to the culture and to the behaviors. If you don't change the behavior of really separating organic waste, collecting organic waste, and putting it back into the stream, it will not happen. It's a nice pilot project, but the scalability, to scale it up and to make it really part of habits, of everyday behaviors, the cultural element is essential. Yeah? And this is something that we always face with sustainability projects. It's a pilot project, but then to scale it up, it's very difficult.
Could you tell a little bit about the pilot project, where it happened, and
so I think we started with a municipality. I don't remember exactly the name.
Kalyani municipality.
Yes, Kalyani municipality. And I think with 5,000 households, we also partnered with some companies, NGOs as well. And we basically collected with biodegradable mulch bags. We collected organic waste at the households and provided that organic waste back to farmers in the same communities, in the same municipalities. And they basically put that organic waste to good use, growing their crops. And on average, and this was all certified, on average the yields of those crops were higher. So at the end you also got more crop and more food out of that organic waste. So this is a circularity concept that you have. You have organic waste that you would throw away, you put it back to good use, you get more food, and then it all comes back in a circle. And that's the circularity concept, yeah.
Yeah, so here's an example where it seems like almost all stakeholders win from this, right? And yet it has not become sustainable. Once you pulled out, I think the things have kind of gone back to, so it's a great area to kind of research and understand how do we make these things stick in a society. Yeah. So the last example is actually the publisher who published the book, Pearson, who have pivoted from the era of physical publishing into this new era of digital education, digital publishing. And you already heard when I talk about the challenge that education in India faces. So can you just build on that, and particularly from what Pearson is doing using digital technology to make books and education more accessible?
Thank you. Even before we get into digital transformation, let me just take a minute to explain what transformation we have gone through. Pearson globally has been there for last 175 years. We have transformed from multiple businesses to what we are today. We don't call ourselves a publisher or just publishing a book. We are world's learning company. That's what we call ourselves. And in India, we have been there for last 3 decades. I have joined Pearson about lesser than a decade now, but I have seen the transformation myself, and I've been part of this journey. And I've also seen the transformation happening at the customer end, because the customer is critical for, like all of us, customer is the center of this one. And for us, it's educational institutions, learners, professors, and the instructors are somebody who are my customers. Earlier, if anybody were talking about library, they used to show heaps and heaps of books. But today, people just show an iPad or an iPhone or a normal phone to say, this is my library. Because we have created each and every content that we have. We have curated the content ourselves, and we have digitalized every single content that is there in our library into digital form. Now, it's available for libraries to make it use, give access to all of you, including KJ Somaiya is also part of digital program, and you use our products. But is that just about digitalization, answer is no. We have been continuously innovating ourselves in creating learning solutions which are up to date. Like I was talking about the same example, Fox Pro and Microsoft Excel. That I cannot create a product, a PDF of the document. It's the whatever titles, content we have, e-text is an interactive content. Students can make notes, they can refer, they have links, they have videos, they have channels that they can refer to and learn. And the buzz has been artificial intelligence and how we can adapt to it. PSN has been the early adapter of artificial intelligence. And about a decade ago, we started using AI, which we did not know. It has a name today, but it was something that we have already used in the past. Many of you have written GRE or a GMAT exam. You would have gone to a Pearson Center to give your exams. Anybody who has traveled outside of India for Australia or New Zealand, whether for work or study, you have taken a Pearson test of English or an IELTS or a TOEFL. We are the early adapters of AI in those assessments. And it's one of the largest accessed test, a high quality test that has been done for English language. What have we done for this in the education? Let's take one simple scenario. You're watching, the video content is very much available. We have created, globally we have created a tool. You are watching a video, you did not understand a concept, you can pause, ask a question to your AI tutor there. It will assess the video and give you an answer. It will not give you an answer. If you're asking it, what is the solution for a Pythagoras theorem, it's not going to just give you a solution, but it will walk you through, make you understand the concept, and then get you to learn the answer. Now, this is getting embedded into our content library that we have curated for last several decades. And we are planning to bring this to India at the earliest. I think apart from that, India has always been a GCC center for many organizations. Likewise, we also have a GCC or a technology development center in India. We have about 2,000 plus employees who are working in India for global products for Pearson platform. So that way we have if you just ask us, are you a publishing company? Answer is no. We have transformed ourselves. So throughout the journey of a person, whether you're in a college or you start learning and then you want to upskill, reskill yourself, we have programs for each of them. So that's how we have transformed ourselves.
Great, great example. Thank you. Yeah. So, you know, when Professor Isaac and I were discussing this morning about this panel and, you know, what do we try to get out of it, I was telling him that, look, the kind of content and the people are here, we could take this easily to an hour and a half and two, right? But unfortunately, we were only given 25, 30 minutes, and I see here that we are running out of time now. So I have to bring this really good conversation to end, but I want to thank my panelists for, you know, really bringing out the stories that are in the book in their own words, and I'm sure you all found it to be very, very interesting and impactful. So thank you very much, and let me congratulate Isaac and Hanif and all the co-authors for the excellent job they have done with the 18th edition of Strategic Management. I think this is going to be a standard book now across business schools, so congratulations, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to moderate this great panel members. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I request you to felicitate our panelists for the very insightful session.
Yeah, okay. So, this is our standard. I need a stool to climb on my Thank you very much. So, by the way, this is the handcrafted.
Thank you so much, sir. I now request VC sir to come on stage. I request Professor Isaac Jacob and Dr. Hanif Kanjer to come for the most awaited moment of today's event, the launch of the book.
Should we come
I-
down? I think that might be better. Yeah.
I also
I
request
think we'll come there. Down.
Mr. Suresh Amin, head HR of JB Pharma, also to come on stage here. Strategic management, concepts and cases, a competitive advantage approach.
Strategy in book release. Somebody should make something which is to be released. Should not be pasted like this.
Heartiest congratulations to the authors. We will have a short 2-minute video of the book launch now.
Go ahead.
Oh, hello, my name is Fred David. I'm co-author of Pearson's.
Hello, I'm Forrest David, and I'm
Oh, hello, my name is Fred David. I'm co-author of Pearson's leading strategic management textbook. I'd like to tell you why I'm so excited about the Indian adaptation being released on October 16th in India. As the David textbook has evolved over the last 30 years, it provides students with the latest, most up-to-date current strategies and techniques for actually doing strategic planning. Business students that possess excellent strategic planning skills can benefit any company or organization soon after they are hired. It's great to see students confident and knowledgeable and motivated to work hard to become successful. And anytime a country's economy is growing rapidly, such as India's right now, it's especially important for business students and managers alike to utilize time-tested effective skills in strategic planning. And India's economy GDP is growing about 7 to 8% annually. This is outstanding. This environment makes India especially important for colleges and universities in India to graduate students that have marketable skills. That's exactly what the David textbook does. To all current and future professors who use our textbook in India, I want to thank you for trusting the David text to provide your students with the skills they need to be successful. And to all businesses and organizations in India, let me say that I am confident that you will be delighted with any students that you hire who have studied strategic management using our textbook. And finally, to all students in India who read and study the David textbook, thank you for being conscientious and committed to learning. Best of luck in your career, and our best regards to you from the United States of America. Thank you so much, and good luck.
Hello, I'm Forrest David, and I'm excited to share some time with you today regarding the launch of the Indian adaptation of the 18th edition David textbook. Today, I would like to briefly discuss with you some recent examples on the impact effective leadership has in strategic planning, and discuss some notable male and female Indian CEOs. Chapters 4 and 7 showcase effective leadership skills needed in doing strategy planning. As you're likely aware, Indians have a rich history in leading firms in many areas globally. Two of the more notable CEOs in the entire world are Sundar Pichai at Google and Satya Nadella at Microsoft. Nadella, who was a long-term employee of Microsoft, actually took over for Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer, the founders of Microsoft, in 2014. And since his rise to the top post at Microsoft, the stock has risen over 1,000% in the last 10 years. This is more than any other U.S. company and 5 times more than the S&P 500, which is the benchmark index in the United States. So how's that for a case in effective leadership? 2 power player female CEO executives in India are Rashi Nader and Sunita Reddy. They're at HCL Technologies and Apollo Hospitals, respectively. And there's a growing awareness now across India and a huge opportunity for females to rise up the executive ranks. Let's talk about 2 large global companies based in the U.S. I imagine all of y'all are customers of these 2 companies, Starbucks and Nike. Well, just this year, in 2024, both these firms replaced their CEO. And the day Starbucks replaced their CEO, the stock price increased 25%. Now let's put this in perspective. Note the firm's balance sheets and income statements. They're the exact same the day before as they were the day of the new announcement. So why did Starbucks CEO, why did that increase the stock price 25%? Well, it can be attributed to the promise of new effective leadership. Also, Nike, their stock experienced a 9% increase the same day they announced their CEO. Now, Starbucks, they acquired their new boss from outside the company. But Nike, they hired an internal person. He had been there over 30 years. There's a really large company in India called Wipro, a large IT services firm y'all might know about. They also acquired a new CEO, Srini Palila. He replaced the existing French CEO. Now, the existing French CEO, he was the second highest paid CEO in all of India. Now, Mr. Palila, he's worked at Wipro since 1992, and it's the firm's hope that this new CEO will have a better understanding of the Indian culture and better alignment for the firm, which was cited as missing in the former CEO. So as you can see from this introduction, the importance of effective leadership and strategy planning, and India's rich history with world-class CEOs, and also you've probably noticed there's a growing opportunity for females to be CEOs in India. Thank you for joining me today.
I'm sure all of us are excited to read the book after watching the digital launch of the book and watching it in person. But we have to wait a little bit because first we need to hear from the authors, Jacob sir and Hanif Kanjer, the story behind writing the book.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for making the time. Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The idea of this book, the germination happened more than 10 years ago when I was pursuing my PhD at KJ Somaiya. So I'm an alumnus of Somaiya as well. Right? And the man behind the book is Isaac Jacob. He's been the anchor who's got everyone associated with the book together. Right? So Isaac, you want to get started?
Hello. Yeah, I still remember when Hanif was in his final year under Dr. Trivedi and he had come to meet him, and he just walked into my room and he saw the strategic brand management book of Pearson. That was the 4th edition, I think, And he said, "You brought out this book?" Yeah. "No, I want to write something with you," and things like that aside. So I've been always pursuing with Pearson, said that, "Do you have any other title that we can actually Indianize here?" And it took a good 10 years, or rather 9 years, before Pearson came back. We were very picky about the kind of titles that we choose. We did not want to get into something which is, just run of the mill and things like that. Because after all, from author's perspective, I think we should be getting a big bang for the buck, or the time that we put in terms of bringing out a real good textbook that is going to basically affect the lives of the MBA students in the country, for instance, and such. So that is what we were looking at. And then when we came to know that, the title Strategic Management by the Fred, David, for instance, Fred David and his son and daughter-in-law for being Indianized, we really latched onto it, and we thought that, yes, this would be a good idea to do that. That is the germination of the thought on the book itself, for instance. But having said that, the all other things, some of the very interesting, I think you should need to recount some of the very interesting episodes that we have had in terms of really writing the content for the book and meeting the iconic, industry, stalwarts like Alex Kerding, and of course meeting, Santosh Iyer from Mercedes-Benz. Yeah, and also, of course, meeting Perizad on that one afternoon. I still remember it was a Saturday, and you called in for tea, and we had high tea, for instance. It was a wonderful way of really,
I think we were all
us.
more starstruck than anything else.
Yeah, we were shocked, in fact. Ranjan, our other co-author, is not here. In fact, I'm sure he must be online and viewing it and all. He loved the pastries that you gave. He, in fact, ran to, Pali Naka and got a whole box to be taken home for his, his kids and things like that as such. So we had some great fun.
He, in fact,
really
promised me a dinner for introducing him to you, Parizad. So that dinner has not yet happened. But let me tell you. The first meeting that we had for the book was at Isaac's place. And I think that memory lasts the longest because of the food that he served. Isaac has a live-in chef who cooks some of the most amazing food. And it was almost like a 4-course, 7-course meal that he served. And I think that was the enticement to say, let's have all the book meetings at his place.
But then very, very, very quickly we went offline because our content team, you won't believe it, we've got a global content team. You won't believe this. We have, in fact, we have 2 of our, content heads here. For Karma, can you just stand up, please? Yeah, there
That's
we have
Karma.
Our very own alumni, Karma Raval. We also have Tanuj Tiwari, who just flew in this morning from Hyderabad, for instance. So they have been there, and of course, the third, she couldn't fly in, but I'm sure she will be watching it on. She's in London.
Wilma Mendonça.
Wilma Mendonça. And we were basically catching up with each other almost every day. After campus, sir, you don't allow us to go earlier than that. And we used to land up home at about 6:30, and we would be on
7
Zoom.
to 10 p.m. almost
every week,
2 to 3 times
in a day,
right.
In a week, for instance, and then we built up the entire thing. But full kudos to the content team. I think without you all, we would not have to. We would never have
Amazing
proceeded.
guys. You throw
Amazing.
balls in the
Amazing.
air and they catch and they run. Amazing guys.
Absolutely fantastic.
Right?
In fact, both Karma and Tanuj has been working with me on the 5th edition of Strategic Brand Management by Keller also, and the kind of work that came out and I'm sure you would want to have more editions coming out, I'm sure, and more titles coming out, which they have given us a carte blanche. We are all there for it. So we have this commitment. I think we built up this particular fabulous team. You give them a brief or give them this thing, and they go hell-bent on leather to ensure that the next time you're on Zoom call, a rough draft is available for both of us, and of course even Ranjan for that matter.
So they're promising us that the next book they'll be able to churn out in 3 months.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's another big, USP for you guys to give us the next title. Huh?
Right.
Pearson, this is, I'm sure Varun is sitting and listening there, and we have already told him that. Pardon me? Yeah.
There's Ashok Bharadwaj here.
Ashok Bharadwaj is here.
Yeah.
In fact, he has championed the Mercedes-Benz, Ashok, please stand up. He has been, and of course, working with, Vikas. Vikas has been heading the retail networking, for instance, All India Retail Networking. But the fact is that, he has also been instrumental to write this particular book along with Shekhar and the rest of the team from Mercedes-Benz, for instance. So that's been a great thing. And of course, we met up with Alex Girding in his own very den in BASF. And he was shocked that, some academics is coming here to, this thing. He frisked us and all to say that whether we are taking some, some information that is classified information, BASF and all. We had to take, Raman sir actually championed this particular meeting. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got a door opener into your office, sir. I'm telling you this in all earnestness. Yeah, we spoke to your team. Sunita was there. I spoke to her yesterday. She cannot make it here. I believe your global CEO is coming here. But I'm going to come to your new office, which is in Godrej 1, and give her a personal copy signed of the book as such. So therefore, we had some wonderful interactions. We had some wonderful friends that we actually built up, for instance, as such, during the time that we wrote this particular book. And of course, JB Pharma has been championed by our very own, Bajaj alumni, and of course with the high, energy levels of Mr. Suresh Amin, who heads the HR in JB Pharma. Unfortunately, Mr. Nikhil Chopra could not have been here. It would have been absolutely wonderful to have him here, MD and full-time director of JB Pharma, one of the largest, one of the highest growth pharma company in this country, for instance. So we've got a wonderful case on that as such. So these are some of the, some of the nuggets I feel. So you would want to go ahead with some other.
So let me talk about the first visit that we had to Pune. And it was an early morning trip. And I didn't have the heart to travel. I was like, who will travel 4 hours? Why can't we just do a Google Meet? It'd be so much easier. But let me tell you, the energy I had on my way back was unbelievable because of the case that I heard. And that kind of pushed me to say that this is an exciting journey that I've taken up. The time we spent with Santosh, the entire day at Mercedes, right?
We had lunch in the...
You've had the privilege of listening to the leaders here just now, earlier in the panel discussion. Unfortunately, due to lack of time, they've not been given more time to speak. But the cases, the companies that they run are truly inspiring. I mean, after 15 years in teaching strategy at B schools, I actually believed I knew it all. These leaders opened my eyes and they said there's so much more that they're doing. And I'm all gung-ho about the next book. But with Parizad, the stories that she's had right from her acting career to getting into Soyabin chicken and calling herself the Murgi Wali, right? Or the
But
Murgi
now you are the number one chicken in the town.
Right? Yeah. So Parizad and I go back more than 18 years. Her husband is an engineering college friend of mine and whose group of schools I run, Baman Irani. His case is also covered, Rustamji case is also covered in the book. So we've got some very interesting cases and profiles of leadership, a lot of learning that can be captured. I would like to say that this book is not a textbook. It's a reference book. So yes, you use it as a text in the classroom, but keep it in your library. Keep it by your bedside, read it on a regular basis. And not just for students of strategy. This book is for anyone interested in leadership and success. Right, Isaac?
Yeah. One of the most unique features of this book is that the beginning of every chapter has got exemplary strategies showcased. The first, of course, is N. Chandrasekharan of Tata Group, for instance. And he speaks about his vision of taking Tata Motors into the next century, perhaps, on the EV format, for instance. So those are the kind of visioning that these iconic, champions of industries are basically there. And we have actually categorized all these things into it. We have Alex Girding giving us the next one on how he looks at actually, sustainability and other features that is going to build up as far as BASF is concerned. In fact, what Mr. Nikhil Chopra has said is something fantastic, for instance. As I mentioned, it's one of the fastest growing pharma companies in the country, for instance. 22-23, they grow by 27%, for instance. Not only in India, but their vision is completely to take on the global, forum, for instance, as such. So that's the way they are looking at building it up and things like that. On one particular strategy, and he believes people first is what they are looking at, for instance. Right, Suresh sir, actually? People first, they put people right in front. And the second one they're looking at in every pin code and globally also they should be made available at arm's length, for instance, which is of course the global mission of Coca-Cola. So these are some of the cases that are there, some of the learnings that you will get from this particular book. But besides that, now in this particular age of fast forward thinking and no time to spend on reading, we have mini cases. We have very, significant mini cases. Just about a page or two, for instance, as such. And therefore, these are all the success stories that you get from not only multinationals, but also from small and medium enterprises.
In fact, each of these cases that we've done, because of the limitation in terms of the number of pages, we are thinking about converting them into full-fledged cases. So whether it's Zoraibin Chicken or Athena BPO or BSF or ROTF, we believe each of these full justice could be done with a 40-page, 50-page detailed case study. I must also mention that our book has been included in the prescribed reading textbook for Mumbai University's SEM 3 strategy paper.
By the Senate.
By the Senate.
This is already prescribed for strategic management. This is the book prescribed by the Mumbai.
It's a university paper.
University paper.
Yeah, right. I want to add one more point. Strategy is a big word, and I've been teaching it for 15 years, and I think I have learned a lot, and yet I know nothing. So I usually tell my students, what is strategy? I believe it is nothing but common sense with a good heart. What do I mean? Strategy is always hindsight. If it works, it is strategy. If it doesn't work, people are going to say you were foolish, right? So your good heart is, it should be a win-win for every stakeholder, whether it's your customer, your employees, your leadership, the environment, all the stakeholders. If it's a win-win scenario, whatever decisions you take are win-win, then it's going to be a successful strategy, right? With this,
I think we'll wind up because everybody is now waiting for the.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. May I stand up to answer you, sir?
So you have, of course, in the challenges in strategic management, you mentioned whether it should be an artistic exercise or a scientific exercise. So you prefer it to be a scientific exercise rather than an artistic exercise page.
Right.
244.
Right.
You mentioned about Mixenberg's notion of crafting strategies with on holistic thinking, intuition, creativity, and imagination.
Right.
As an example of artistic strategy planning.
Right.
And you say that you prefer course, your statement.
Right.
Because scientific plan. Can you just
So, this will be a full lecture for.
Yeah.
This will be a full lecture for 2 hours. But let me tell you that it should, yes. It,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
you are quoting Winsberg.
That's
Yes.
right.
Notion.
That's
Winsberg
right.
is at that level, yes.
Strategies embodies the artistic model. It suggests that strategic decision making be based on primarily on holistic thinking, intuition, creativity, and imagination.
Right.
Right.
Unquote.
Yeah.
So why then you prefer? You say that, but you prefer a science.
Because strategy is a multitude of decisions that you take. And some of those decisions you take from your heart, and some may be logical. Some may have scientific principles based on it. And that is where strategy will have both the aspects. It is an art and it is a science. Depending on the case and the scenario, you will have to see what will apply.
Sir, it is using both the left brain and the right brain between you and me. And also intuition. Intuition is the insight that you get. Insight is basically something which...
From numbers alone, can you strategy?
No, not really.
Not really from...
Numbers don't tell you the whole story.
Numbers are inert, sir.
Yeah.
Numbers are inert. You have to get a complete understanding of how these numbers really work in terms of getting an insight into the... For instance, the ROTF case is a good example.
You yourself ask a question whether the strategy should be visible or hidden from the state.
That is for the students, sir.
Right. Right.
That is for the students to answer, sir. The professors will evaluate it, sir.
Thank you.
Those-
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I saw that there are exercises the students
Yeah.
will ask maybe next year or so. Strategic planning of the university.
Yeah.
You have given exercise.
Acha.
You have given
Right,
exercise
strategic
to
planning
Yeah,
of the
studying
university.
planning of the university.
Interesting.
Planning of the university and certain other things also. But Boston Consulting Group.
Yeah, BCG,
Yes.
yeah.
BCG analysis of a university.
Right.
Definitely, I would ask some of your students, what is it that they have analyzed? Maybe next year.
Yes, sir.
Sure, sure.
Certainly, sir.
All right. Yes, and
but-
we'll give Pearson that feedback. The book should have been in color.
Yeah. I
But
think
maybe.
it should have been. But fact of the matter is that even the previous editions
So-
of the book was, I think, in black and white because
So-
of the cost factor.
Yes, so Vinay was talking earlier that the books have to reach out to all places in India. And there are rural students who may not be able to afford expensive editions. 680. Yeah. So, yeah.
No color, except for...
Yeah, so then to... Right.
So I have a
Should be that. All right. Yes, there's a question.
I have
there.
a, I have a question. Yeah, I have a question. So I heard words like common sense with a heart,
Yes.
intuition, all that forming part of strategic thinking. How do you balance risk? Let me frame this properly. There's obviously risk involved in everything that we do, and there is an assessment of risk that needs to be carried out, right? How do you balance that, which I think is really the mind, with what the heart wants to do?
Correct. Right. So now I can answer again the same way. Either it's a full course or a consulting assignment.
Okay, I'd prefer the latter. We'll talk about it at coffee.
All right. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the authors, I thank all of you for your valuable time. I request, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, I request all of you to proceed for high tea, which has been arranged outside this room.